Douglas E. Welch, and this is A Gardener's Notebook. A Gardener's Notebook is a member of Troy-Bilt's Saturday 6, and you can find out more information on all 6 bloggers at troybilt.com. Today we're going to be refurbishing an older container. So you might ask, what's so special about this plant? Well, this plant is 16 years old. This was a housewarming gift when we moved into this house 16 years ago. Well, our friends brought it over, and it's hung at the end of our porch all 16 years. It's gone through several pots, but the plant is still the same. And so every couple of years or so, I do like to rejuvenate it and make sure it continues growing. You can see here it's got flowers ready to bud on the end of it already. First step in this process is to simply clean out the container. We have lots of trees on our property, and so this thing collects leaf litter like crazy. And so you could just kind of toss it out like that if you want. Probably the easiest method, though, is just to dump the entire pot out. We're going to want to check the drainage in the bottom anyway. So let's go ahead and do that. This is a good time to check for any damaged roots, any rotten materials. Now what you will find in my case, and perhaps in yours as well, this isn't one plant, it's actually a grouping of plants, and you may want to move them around in the pot a little bit. So in the case of this container, it's actually doing pretty darn well. For being 16-year-olds especially. I mentioned there might be multiple plants. You can see here there are 1, 2, 3, looks like 4 and perhaps 5 individual plants in this container, and they all drape out the sides, which is looking very nice. I might go ahead and open up the middle just a little bit to let some more air in there, but otherwise I really don't see any need to divide this. If you did, you could simply put a trowel in like this and break this into individual plants and then repot them up that way if you thought perhaps they were a little bit too confined, or if you had a dead plant amongst all of them. In my case though, we're looking really good. The roots look really nice, so I really don't have to do any of that extra work this time. Now that all the cleanup is done, all we have to do is put the plant back in its pot. Well, first of all, because of watering, containers especially, they tend to lose a lot of soil because you're watering them much more frequently. So in this case, I'm going to add a little more potting soil. I made some homemade potting soil a month or so ago. I'm going to use the remainder of that. I'm almost out, but we're going to use some of that to put in the bottom. We're also going to check the drainage. This has 3 drainage holes in the bottom of it, and none of them are covered. I realized when it was last repotted, I guess I didn't put any drainage hole covers in it. You can use the standard pot shards like this. In this case, you might also want to use a small piece of screen. It'll still let the water out, but it will retain the soil perhaps a little bit better. In this case, though, we're just going to put some pot shards in the bottom of the pot here, and then we're going to come over here to our potting soil and simply add a nice new layer on the bottom here. This will help the plant stand a little proud from its container too. They do tend to sink in after a while, again, due to the watering. Finally, again, this is such a nice root ball, it's all holding together, so it's actually made my life really easy for this project. We simply pick it back up, notice any final things that need to be cleaned up, and back in the pot it goes. Now this looks like it's setting a little bit low, so I'm actually going to add a little more potting soil and raise it up probably kind of to that level right there. And here we have it, the completed refurbished pot, good for another couple of years. And I expect to have this plant as long as I'm around. As long as it wants to grow, I'm glad to keep it. We'll water this in. We'll actually hang it up first because it does get kind of heavy. Then we'll water it in and we'll be done for the day. This has been A Gardener's Notebook. I am Douglas E. Welch. You can find out more about us at douglasewelch.com. You can find out more about Troy-Bilt Saturday 6 at troybilt.com. It's been a pleasure. Until next time, keep digging.